What's good, everybody? Welcome into Early Edge Live. I, of course, am the coach. We are powered by the almighty SportsLine. If you're not hyped after that intro music, I don't know what's going to get you hyped. I'm going to be completely candid with you. We started the Early Edge. We started this brand for this reason and this reason only. It's NFL season. It's our bread and butter. It's what we do. And tonight, it's game number one. The marquee matchup of the week. Two of the greatest brands in all of football. On one side, you've got America's team. They haven't seen an NFC championship game in 25 years. Yet, Jerry Jones, still the most lucrative franchise in all of American sports. And it's not close. Then on the other side, you got the GOAT, Tom Brady, defending Super Bowl champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Do you know that there has not been a repeat champion in the NFL since 2003, 2004? And it was, yep, you guessed it, Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. So over the course of the next hour and 20 minutes, right up until kickoff, we're going to get you covered. Storylines, spreads, props, anything you could ask for. And we'll also take your questions, put them over in the comment section. We'll get to as many as we possibly can. I promise you that. But without further ado, let's bring out the stars of the show. I've got all my heavy hitters on this one. Are you kidding me? Right next to me. You do not beat this guy when it comes to knowledge, period. We call him the Maestro, at Larry Hartstein on Twitter. Oh, Maestro, we've been talking about this for months. How do you feel right now?
I love the new music. Got me so pumped. Let's go.
Let's do it. Then right next to him, he is our college football guru. He finds nuggets nobody else can find. He's from Nashville, Tennessee. AB, what's good?
Hey, Coach, love it, man. I love this show. Excited to be with you guys. Let's get it.
He is our resident rock star. He's got the lettuce like nobody else. He's at PropStars on Twitter. Alex, welcome back to the show.
Coach, I cannot believe we're less than 2 hours away from kickoff. I am just so excited to get ready for football.
And the thing I love about you is that excitement just oozes out of your pores. It just oozes out of your pores. Now, this man literally is a rock star. He is one of the most important minds that we have at SportsLine. We call him M Squared. He is Mikey. What's good?
Not much, Coach. Very busy day on my end. I apologize if you see me looking at the other screen. I've got almost 200 daily fantasy lineups locking in to the contest tonight. So we are finishing up all that as inactives have come out. So a little full disclosure on that. But fired up. Cannot wait to go. Already got some beautiful line movement on plays from this morning. So everything's good, man. Let's do this.
All right, let's do this. A lot of energy, a lot to talk about. We're going to start with the storylines of the day. And do you know that last year, the Cowboys started 0-8 against the spread? So, Maestro, I'm going to start with you. This line started Tampa Bay -6.5, but it has moved all the way up to now. It's right around plus or -9, -9.5. What do you make about this line movement?
Well, a lot of professionals and sharps definitely jumped on the Bucs this summer when it was 6.5, when it was 7. At this point, it's pure public money. I mean, there's no value left at this number. But, I mean, if you still forced me and put a gun to my head and said, who's going to cover, I think Tampa Bay by 10. But at this point, absolutely no value.
AB?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of back up what Larry's saying. Something about this game stinks in terms of the spread or the total. And I don't know what it is, but you're looking at a double-digit spread and a total of only 51.5 and a total that hasn't moved, right? I mean, we've seen 1 point, maybe 1.5, but hasn't been anywhere near the spread. So we're going to talk more about it. But two quarterbacks coming off surgery as well? Something here is different, man.
And it's really weird, Alex, when you think about the fact that Dak Prescott has not taken one competitive snap this entire preseason and coming off a leg injury, one that was horrific you couldn't even look at, and now he's coming back and we think he's going to be just picking up where he left off a year ago. Do you think that could happen tonight?
I think he's going to have to shake a lot of rust off, and he's going to, just come in kind of, just playing a little kind of behind the eight ball, and I just have a really hard time imagining Dak picking up where he left off, and I think they're going to come out, with a slow start and likely pick things up in the second half.
Mikey, I know a lot of sharps, including yourself, think that tonight there could be a lot of points being scored, which we'll get into, but what do you make as far as what the line is telling us tonight?
Yeah, I mean, the line is just telling you there's a lot of public action late. If this line had been 9.5 when it opened, it would have been getting bet the other way pretty significantly early. There's a lot of public action at this point. There's obviously major question marks around what we're going to see from Dak Prescott. I'm in the camp that believes he's going to be okay. I think that the game script's going to kind of force them to throw the ball, which is going to lead to a little increased pace of play. These two teams already play with two of the top 5 in the National Football League in terms of the pace of play. And that's going to be like a neutral pace of play. So when it's just completely neutral, no real game script either way, these two teams want to get off as many plays as they can. Dallas is going to have to throw the ball here. Are they going to get him a lot of short passes? Or is Pollard and Zeke going to catch passes out of the backfield to try and get him in some sort of rhythm? Are we going to see passes to Cooper and Lamb near the line of scrimmage? I think the answer is yes. But either way, I think we're going to see a lot of plays in this one. I think the pace is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, 2 of the 4 fastest teams in terms of neutral pace. Like you said, Mikey, I saw a study, 36% more Americans expected to bet on the NFL this year compared to last year. So when you talk about public money and this wave, that might be what we're seeing.
It's amazing. I saw that same number too. And the fact that we have a 17-game season certainly is going to help. And sportsbooks absolutely love it. But let me ask you guys this, because every time I've seen any story today about the line, about the spread, Zach Martin's name is always in the same story. Meister, are we making too much of this story?
I think there's kind of been a vacuum of other news around this game, and the guy is amazing. And Zeke said we run basically every play behind him. His grade, according to PFF, is about 92, and his replacement, Connor McGovern, is about 69. So that is a big drop off. But they do have the other linemen, Collins, and the other guys are back. But yeah, it's big. But I don't think that accounts for all of the move.
Mikey, what do you think? I'll get to you.
Yeah,
AB.
no, I honestly don't think it's overstated. I think that it should be maybe positioned a little different. It's the combination of Martin being out and the unknown of returning from the injury, because it has a direct impact on him. But as far as like what players mean to the spread, like this offensive lineman's worth more than a running back is to a spread. Obviously, running backs essentially mean nothing to a spread in the NFL. This lineman grades out as the number 3 offensive guard in all of the NFL. His replacement player that's coming in for him is going to be a below average guy on the line. It changes things for sure. It's going to change where the pressure is going to be coming from. Whether or not Dak is comfortable with where the additional pressure is going to be coming from remains to be seen, but certainly going to hurt the run game. I think the most interesting question is are they going to run the ball with Zeke in the first quarter just to try and get the offense rhythm to, for lack of a better term, establish a run? I think it's a mistake. I think they come out and I think they'd be money ahead to just simply abandon it, to be honest with you, because I don't think they're going to have any success at all with it.
Agree. AB?
Yep, I agree with Mike completely at the beginning of what he said. It determines the unknown, who's playing behind him, and what does the passing attack threat look like, right? Here in Nashville last year, we saw Derrick Henry. He went for 2,000 yards without a left tackle in Taylor Lewan and without his right tackle. But you had Ryan Tannehill and weapons all over the field that they could kind of neutralize that. Can the Cowboys do the same thing with their offensive line and move the ball? And is Dak Prescott moving the ball down the field? So I think Mike absolutely nailed it. That's where this determination is going to be.
I agree that they are going to come out throwing if they're smart, because this is a Bucs defense that gave up 3.6 yards a carry, the lowest in the NFL, and that was with Vita Vea missing a ton of games. He is back. Sue is there. They have everybody up front. The only guy they don't have is the strong safety, Jordan White.
Alex, let me ask you this. When you hear all the things that the guys just talked about from a prop perspective, when you're thinking about pass catches, running attempts, pass completions, distance, all of the different props. And one of the books I use, I've got 182 different bets that I can make. How do you, as a prop expert, handicap that when you really don't know if Dallas is going to come out, run, or throw the football?
Yeah, so I kind of look at the overall impact that, losing Zach Martin can have. It just, it's kind of stretches beyond just affecting the run game. It could, have an impact on the outside receivers. It could give Dak less time to throw, allow for less routes to develop down the field. So it could, have an impact on Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb getting targets down the field. So yeah, it goes just beyond, like the immediate impact of affecting the running game. I think it kind of trickles down throughout the offense. So I kind of try to look at how it affects the whole picture.
Oh, okay. Didn't know you were stopping there. My apologies.
Sorry.
Let me throw this out at you guys, because there's so many trends we know. You have to be very, very careful when you talk about historically, because it's always different players. We know teams have different players. But in the Super Bowl era, this will be, if it goes off at 10, this will be the highest spread that the Cowboys have ever been an underdog ever. What does it tell you? Is it because they're historically, the last 25 years, not very good? Or is it because of Tom Brady and the Bucs and having all 22 starters back for the first time? Get this, first time a team has ever done it since 1977. All 22 starters. Maestro, what do you think?
I mean, that's a trend that's interesting fact. I didn't realize that they've never been this big of a dog. But I mean, when you look at trends, 14-6 ATS for the Super Bowl champ in game 1, 11-4-1 against the spread in these standalone kickoff games. But you've also got Tom Brady 0-5 against the spread in his last 5 primetime, night games. So taking out the Super Bowl. But so I just think I'm not really looking at those historical trends and just looking at this matchup and what you said, the 22 starters, all the uncertainty in Dallas with the injuries accounts for that spread.
I should be very, very clear. That is week 1 that they've only been not all time.
Okay.
Just week one. I'm sure they've been bigger underdogs other times. Real quick, if you're just joining us, we're about a quarter past the hour. This is Early Edge Live. We're going to be here every single Thursday during the NFL season, right up to kickoff. And we're talking everything Thursday night football, Cowboys and the Buccaneers. We'll be giving out our official picks a little bit later in the show. Also, a brand new segment called And Here's Why, where I make all of my cappers pick at least one play on the show tonight and tell us all why right here live on the show. So let's move on now to propping it like it's hot, boys, because this is what I like to do. Now, Mad Max in the Thunderdome earlier today on social media, he gave out Dak Prescott over 12.5 rushing yards. That's the first one. Mikey, I'm going to start with you because this was interesting that he would give this out because you're coming off an horrific leg injury. He hasn't played at all. You've got to believe his coaches have told him, get down, get out of bounds. But yet, Max is telling us over 12.5 rushing yards. Your initial thoughts?
I'm not surprised by it. I think it's obviously putting a lot of faith in Dak being back to where Dak was before the injury, or at least some version of that. I don't hate it. My median number is above that number. I have it all the way up to 16. Again, that's making pretty big assumptions. If you know what I'm on the game from the early morning show, and if you followed any of the SportsLine stuff and the DFS stuff over there, you know that I'm relatively high on the Cowboys overall in terms of their ability to generate yards and potentially points in this game. So I'm okay with it. I like it. My median number says I should have the exact same play. I haven't locked it in yet. A little cautious on it. It's making assumptions. I will admit that I assume Max is making the same assumption that I am, that despite not having a competitive snap so far this season, he is ready to go play and he's not going to really hold anything back. So,
yeah, Mike, look, I'll jump in with you. This week we heard the Cowboys offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, say that the key to this offense is remembering that Dak can use his legs as well. So it all depends how early in the season do they get that going. Do they start with that tonight? I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see that. I bet Max is pretty spot on here, especially if it can help, kind of alleviate some of that pressure and get the ball down the field. Yeah. I mean, this fits exactly into what the Cowboys offensive plan is.
Alex, this is your world. What do you think?
Yeah, I tend to agree. I like the pick as well. I think that Dak's I think it's obviously a small enough number where he can get it in one carry and just to kind of keep the defense honest. And, with the loss of Martin and just having a ferocious Tampa Bay front, he's, going to have to be mobile and kind of maneuver outside of the pocket. So, yeah, I would definitely lean over as well.
Yeah, I'm going to lean over. Oh, sorry, Coach. Just because the concern, this summer, this camp has been the shoulder, not the leg. So, yeah, I would lean over as well.
Hey, one quick thing before we go. Look, this is the beauty of the chess match of football, right? So the Buccaneers, their defense is going to have to figure out, are you going to protect the outside, right, and kind of spy the quarterback, or are you going to rush from the inside to stop Ezekiel Elliott? And then on the Cowboys on the opposite side are going to say, all right, which one are you choosing, buddy? Because we're going to give you the other one, and we're going to go back and forth. So I wouldn't be surprised at all in the first and second quarter. There's more of kind of like a boxing match feel out of, hey, which one are you going to pick? We're going to go with the other one. Let's see what you could choose.
I think there's something to that, AB, because I think I fall into what Mikey's line of thinking was, that for what we saw in the Super Bowl and the playoffs, that defensive line is really, really strong. So if you come out tonight and you're throwing around, let's remember last year through 4 games, Dak set an NFL record, 422 yards a game through 4 games last year. He can throw it. Now, they were behind a lot. They had to come back, but still, he still had those yards. So when you think of the weapons that he has now, Maestro, I know you're really, really high on CD Lamb.
I'm very high on CD Lamb, but specifically for this game because, last year he ran 93% of his routes from the slot, as I'm sure Alex knows, and they're talking about moving him out wide, but I still think he's going to get 50, 60, 70% in the slot. You got Sean Murphy-Bunting, who was a postseason hero with 3 picks. But if you look at his overall grades, I believe it was a 127 passer rating allowed when he was in the slot. So if CeeDee Lamb gets those slots, plus look what he did with Dak in the lineup, 8 targets per game in those first 5, where he got at least 5 catches in every single game, plus his raw talent. His youth, his raw talent ready to emerge. That's why I went over 4.5 earlier this week. Some of the books had gone to 5.5. Now I see back to 4.5 minus 160 at Caesars. That's really expensive, but I still like him to get at least 5.
I got it at minus 140. I had 5 at minus 140 at about 1 o'clock this afternoon. So it's been kind of moving around, and the number's been changing quite a bit. Clearly, this is a pretty popular play because this is a dude, for those of you at home, if you're not familiar with the Cowboys, he was a star at Oklahoma, and he can flat out play. And when you've got the other good receivers on the other side of the field, that opens up a guy like CeeDee Lamb. I love this play from the Maestro today. AB, you look like you're wanting to jump in.
I'm always wanting to jump in, Coach. You know that. Look, I'm going to say this. I love the early edge for the education that you get, and let me prove it. This morning, our man M Squared gave me the education talking about Dak Prescott and how the Cowboys offense would probably shift and gear more towards a passing offense throughout the game. So a prop that I love is Dak Prescott over half of an interception. So essentially 1 interception at minus 135, because if we're talking about a game where Prescott is probably going to have anywhere from 38 to 41 pass attempts, and that defense and what Maestro just talked about, I think minus 135 is a little bit of an expensive price, but I think it's worth it because you essentially only need 1. So yeah, like the education from just sitting here on the screen and watching Mikey break it down this morning is fantastic, man. I'm all over that one.
I wish we could shoot behind the scenes stuff, and everybody thinks that the 5 of us are experts. We learn from each other. There is no question that from where I was 8 months ago to my sports betting mind now, I'm a completely different person. Now, Alex, I know you've got a couple of props that you are really high on today. Give them to us and tell us why, please.
Yes, Coach. I've got 2 props that I absolutely love tonight. The first one I gave out last Friday, actually, and it was Gronk under 33.5 receiving yards. It's presently at 31.5 receiving yards. But looking at it, the Cowboys defense obviously is not good. But one area they actually did well last year was defending opposing tight ends. They actually gave up the 3rd fewest receiving yards to tight ends, and that was 650. The Bucs also have a logjam at the tight end position with O.J. Howard, Cam Brate on the roster. Speaking of O.J. Howard, he led all Tampa Bay tight ends in targets and receptions before his season-ending injury. So in the first 4 games of the season, Gronk was pretty much relegated to blocking primarily and wasn't really involved in the passing game whatsoever. I think tonight Howard is again expected to serve as the Bucs' primary pass-catching tight end. I think Gronk's going to be blocking a lot. You also have to look at the Bucs have just a plethora of pass catchers. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller. I mentioned Howard and Brate. There's just a lot of mouths to feed for Brady. And the strength of the Cowboys defense just happens to lie within their linebacking unit. They actually went out in the draft and even upgraded it further by drafting Micah Parsons, who's a very good coverage linebacker. They drafted another linebacker, Jabril Cox, who is widely regarded as the best coverage linebacker in the draft. So, yeah, I think Gronk I still like him at under 31.5 yards. The other prop I have, and I've been saving this one for the show, is show special.
Let's do it.
Yeah, is Leonard Fournette over 35.5 rushing yards. This was a little painful because I think earlier in the day it was 33.5, and I watched it kind of move up, but I still love it at 35.5 rushing yards. Look, I just don't understand where the love is for Fournette. I think people have forgotten that, essentially for the duration of the playoffs and the Bucs run at the end of the season, him and Rojo were splitting carries nearly 50-50. Somehow Rojo's line is 49.5. The discount on Fournette just seems way too low to me. Lenny just had an amazing postseason where he averaged 16 carries a game and was rushing for 75 yards per game. This was against some very good run defenses as well. Washington football team, the Saints, Packers, Kansas City. I just love this spot for him where the Bucs are a 9-point favorite, playing at home against a rush defense that was ranked 31st last year. I think they're going to be killing clock in the fourth quarter. I think Fournette's going to get double-digit carries, and I think you can take this one to the bank.
Oh, we don't say that here. You can say where we're going. You can say where we're going. We're just going straight to the pay window, son. Going straight to the pay window. How about that? And for those people watching at home, by the way, he held that. He didn't even tell us what that play was. That's how important his props are to him. He didn't even tell me. Now, we do have a question over here. Speaking of turnovers and all kinds of different kinds of touchdowns, I'm going to bring it up. And, Mike, you're great at these questions off the cuff. Talking about interceptions, do you like anytime touchdown by a special teams player tonight or the defense tonight, coming off what AB said about Dak potentially throwing at least one interception tonight?
I do not personally. To answer this question, I can take it to a daily fantasy question a little bit. I have 0% exposure to either defense in daily fantasy tonight. So I will not be playing a defensive special or special teams touchdown. I think that if you want to, honestly, I'd probably play it on the Cowboys side just because the value is going to be absolutely insane. It's going to be juiced to the point where it's no value on the Bucs side. So if you wanted to play it and you wanted to get crazy, I would play it on the Dallas side. But overall, not something I'd look to invest in on this game.
All right, let's go to another question while we're staying here in the props category of the show. And Maestro, I want to go to you, and then Alex, you can back him up. Thoughts about play 94386, Jeweler. Thoughts about Elliott over 12.5 carries and Ronald Jones. That one, Alex, you just talked about Ronald Jones a lot. Over 11.5 carries for him. Maestro, why don't you start with Ezekiel? What do you think about that?
Well, that's come down a couple of carries, which is interesting to me. And, I don't think they're going to have success, but I think they are going to give him a chance. I think they come out throwing to try to set up some runs, and they're going to stick to him. Supposedly he's in the best shape of his life, which I know you hear every offseason from everyone, but it does look like he is in better shape this year than he was last year. So I would lean over on Elliott. But the Jones one, I just have no faith in how this backfield is going to be divided now with Gio Bernard as potentially the third down receiving back. But Alex, I would love your take on this Tampa Bay backfield.
Yeah, just real quick before I get to that, Larry, I think that the Zeke line actually opened at 14.5. To see it down to 12.5 is really interesting. I would definitely tend to lean over at that number. And regarding Tampa Bay's backfield and how it's going to be split, I think 11.5 is a pretty spot on number. I don't think there's a lot of value on either side for Rojo. I just expect him probably to land somewhere between 11 and 13 carries. If I were looking at a carries total, I'd look towards Fournette because I think he's just being undervalued by the market right now.
Very good. We are exactly 50 minutes away from kickoff. It is the bottom of the hour, 7:30 on the East Coast, 4:30 out here on the West Coast. This is Early Edge Live with me and the guys. We're going to be here every single Thursday, counting down to Thursday night football. Tonight, it's Cowboys and the defending Super Bowl champion, the Bucs. Okay, let's switch gears now. We're going to attack the spread. We're going to attack the total. And I know this morning, Mikey, I'm going to start with you because you've been very bullish on this total, which has been hovering around 51. Do you still like the over tonight?
I would probably 52.5 is where it's at now. That's the absolute maximum I would get up to. But yeah, I played it at 51 even this morning. So it's a full 1.5 up from that now. And I got 4 points on the alt total. I played 48.5 this morning. Unfortunately, at 52.5, I probably wouldn't play it. If you can even get it down to 52, I think it'd be fine. But unfortunately, I think it's been bet to the point where I wouldn't keep piling on. But it's nice to see, certainly.
When I think of the score at 52, that 28-24 kind of comes into my head. And with the everybody's raving about this defense. AB, does 28-24 seem too high to you?
Yeah, so just something to sit right with me, man. Like when you're looking at a spread of 9.5, and I know that there's a lot of public money out there, but 52.5, especially getting that half hook right there, because now you're talking about what, 7 touchdowns and a field goal, and you have the hook on your side there. I would probably play the under on this one. I know I'll play a lot of unders, but I would not be surprised if we see this first half be a lot more defensive than people think. Again, you've got 2 quarterbacks coming off of surgery. You've got offenses that we really don't know what the Cowboys are going to look like. We kind of have an idea what the Bucs are going to look like, what they're going to do. But again, historically, first quarters have been very, very low scoring in this. So, yeah, 52.5, I'm rolling with the under all day on that.
But you gave out a +3 for the Cowboys in the first quarter because of the low scoring. Quickly explain for those who didn't see the morning show what that bet is about. Yeah,
so the last 3 years in this NFL kickoff game, the team that's won the game has combined for 0 points in the first quarter, all 3 of them. And in fact, go back to the 4th year, it was tied 7-7 after the first quarter. So they haven't won a first quarter in 4 straight years in this game. So yeah, Cowboys first quarter +3, just going to ride historicals on that one.
I've been seeing the name in our comments section, Antonio Brown. And if this total is going to get over that total, then all of the wide receivers for Tampa, Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, they're going to have to be involved. I know, Maestro, you have something about Antonio Brown. What do you got?
Yeah, there's been a big move on Antonio Brown. I mean, his anytime TD has now gone all the way down to +150. It was +200, I believe, just yesterday. And his first touchdown is also coming down. There's a lot of, steam behind him because, I mean, all the comments from Bruce Arians are that, he had an arthroscopic procedure in the spring and that he's basically got his speed back, that he looks like he did when he was in Pittsburgh. All the reviews are raving. Everyone is saying he's been a model citizen. Brady loves him. We know that. There's just a lot of impetus behind him, plus the fact that Chris Godwin missed a bunch of practice. So maybe with them putting in the game plan, there was more Antonio Brown than normally there would be. Mike, I think it was Jody in the comments asking about would you use him as a captain. I'm tempted as an anytime TD, but you can handle the DFS.
Yeah, no, I definitely have him in the captain spot at a pretty healthy amount too, close to 10% of the overall exposure there, Jody. Part of the reason why that number is coming down, though, it's definitely related to the concern around Chris Godwin. My issue with Godwin is the injury that he's dealing with. The quad injury is not something I want my wide receiver dealing with coming into the season. I'm okay with him dealing with it a little bit in the season after he's already been hit significantly, like they're playing in a game on the quad. I'm not really okay with it early in the season, causing me to miss practices before I've even started actually taking hits. I think it's a little concerning. I think that's why the sentiment on Antonio Brown is rising. I think we're all a little down, and I think the sharp community in general is maybe just a touch down on Chris Godwin because of that.
Alex, let me ask you this, because when you're talking about correlated plays, and right now we're talking about the total being over, when you look at your props with these receivers or quarterbacks, how much do you weigh in the fact that you think that it could go over the total or under the total?
Yeah, so a pretty good amount, Coach. I definitely take that into consideration when I'm looking at props, obviously this is a super high total, so I'm going to kind of look more over-centric or be more over-centric when I'm sort of evaluating the various props. So yeah, I definitely take into account the totals and kind of where I lean on that, but I don't put, I guess, too much impotence on it just because it's just kind of one small piece of a very large puzzle.
We're about 10 minutes away from, and here's why, when my guys will give their one pick on the game tonight. You don't want to miss that and stick around for that. But when you talk about how high is too high? Now, the spread probably is where it's going to be. But what number do you feel comfortable with if you were betting this game, Maestro? What would that number be?
I mean, if I'm betting the game, I'm only going to bet Tampa, at 7 or less. So when that train has left the station, it gets to 10, I might, out of principle, have to put a small play on Dallas. But I don't really love the side or the total in this one. I'm focusing more on the props. But I do know people that got Tampa early that will take a piece of Dallas if it gets to 10 and try to go middle. Yeah.
AB?
Yep, I feel exactly the same way that Maestro does. 7 and below, great number for Tampa. They could still cover at 10. They could cover at 14. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not going to take the odds on that, right? Like now that it's at 9.5, that's probably exactly where the number is. And now you look at it, 9.5, 10, that opens up all kinds of doors for teasers in this situation. There's a lot of options here now at play, now at 9.5. So yeah, I think that's exactly where the number is. I think you're right.
Don't tease me, AB. Give me one that you would like to play. Give me a teaser you would like to play. I think this morning, was it Matty that gave out Bucs would be 2.5, and I can't remember who else that he played, but he played that on the morning show. I don't have it in front of me. But real quick, because I know we have a lot of new people that watch, and we love our diehards, but we also love our new people that are trying to learn about sports betting. When you say teaser, quickly explain what that is.
Yeah, teaser it's essentially like a parlay, except you can move the numbers in your favor, and you're going to have to pay for it in terms of the outcome, in terms of the money that you're going to get back. But you can move that number in your favor, and especially how you want to do it. Stay away from it in college football, but in the NFL, if you could move a number from say 8.5 down to 2.5, when you could cross that 7 and a 3, you're going to create yourself profitability values there. So it's working the numbers in your favor, and you pay a little bit for it, but you get the numbers exactly where you want it.
And you have to hit both games. That has to be
exactly.
You got it. So the Lady Killer this morning gave out Bucs -2.5 and the Rams -1.5. They're playing the Bears in Sunday Night Football on Sunday. So both of those have to hit to win your teaser. That's the only caveat.
Sorry. Can I get one note on teasers? Just when you see a teaser, when you see a line get in that 8.5 range, a lot of times, it took a long time to go from 7.5 to 8. And then all of a sudden it goes to 9.5. That's because the books are getting a lot of teaser liability, and everyone wants it below 3 on a 6-point teaser. So they'll just take it all the way up to 9 or 9.5.
Educate. Entertain. By the way, I saw somebody today in the comment section. Did you say they said the over under on how many times I say that in the show is 4.5? I said it was juiced up to 160. All right, we're just about 5 minutes away from our pick on the show tonight. It's a new segment we call, and here's why. And yes, I bogarted it from AB. I don't care. I run the show. I'll take whatever I want. So quickly, there are a lot of people. What do you make? Because I've seen this a lot. People that go on social media and they brag about, the Buccaneers -7, but yet they never said that they played it from April or May or June when the line came out. How important is it, and I'm going to talk about anybody else but us, to make sure that we stay with the number and evolve our thought processes based off the movement of the number and not stay stubborn on that? Mikey, I know that you're very bullish on this type of thing.
Yeah, I'm just very bullish on transparency in general, but there's obviously the whole thing is about the number, right? There's a number, there's a price for pretty much everything, like there is in life. Same thing here. So yeah, I think it's important to always tell you where you got it. If you can show where you got it, great. And then let's examine where it's at today as well and give an educated opinion on both of them. So that's what I'm here to do.
We've got it in the comment section. I actually just looked this up. Elijah, bring that up, jeweler. Field goal props. Got to bet it off first game. I actually looked for total field goals, and the last number I saw, over 3.5 plus 113, and a field goal in the first quarter, a yes is minus 111. AB, you're all over this first quarter. What do we think about a field goal in the first quarter?
Yeah, I love it. I think there's a lot of great plays here in terms of the field goals, in terms of first, possession punts. Yeah, I honestly, I think it's going to be a little bit of a feel out. I don't think we're going to see Dak Prescott or Tom Brady open the game up with 85-yard bombs and throwing, 45-yard slants across the field. There's going to be running the ball. There's going to be a little bit of field position. And there's going to be, I would rather not make the big mistake than make the big swing, because you've got two teams that can score quickly. So, yeah, if there's a field goal prop out there, absolutely. I love it for this game. Love it first quarter and second quarter.
All right. Yeah. Well, somebody want to jump in?
I'll just mention I love Greg Zuerlein. I know RJ likes him as well. I have a lot of Greg Zuerlein in daily fantasy tonight. Again, I think that the Cowboys will move the ball a little bit. I think they'll struggle in terms of efficiency in the red zone. So I do think that we'll see some Greg Zuerlein field goals. I believe over 1.5 made field goals is right about even money, minus 105 in the market right now. So that's one I do like.
Right, let me jump in real quick, Mike, just because you were talking about a red zone efficiency and we were talking about prop plays. I don't know what the number is in front of me, but in terms of Dak Prescott, if they do open up the game, the passing game, and it reverts more to that, look for an anytime TD of Dak Prescott running it in the red zone. I'm telling you, because Kellen Moore will spread it out, knowing that's exactly what they want to do. So I'm not saying throw all your money on it, but if you're looking for a prop and you see the Cowboys start opening it up in the pass game, yeah, take a look there.
Interesting. Speaking of another anytime prop, we have a question. I'm going to go to Alex on this one. Cody says, thoughts on a Gronk anytime touchdown? And I know you already said you think he's going to be a blocker, but we also know when we get down near the goal line, who is Tom Brady looking for? What do you think about this? Because in the Super Bowl, he found him.
Yeah, he did. No, Gronk's obviously still an elite red zone weapon. That's, where you kind of, that's his bread and butter, is getting open and being physical in the red zone and, overpowering smaller defensive backs and out-jumping linebackers. So, yeah, I think at the right price, I'd consider a Gronk touchdown. If the ball gets within the 10-yard line, that seems to be where he thrives. So, yeah, I like a Gronk anytime touchdown.
All right, very good, very good. I'm gonna call an audible here because I feel like giving away a year-long sub to SportsLine, but we're not just gonna give it away. You've got to earn it. So I've got a trivia question. I'm going to ask it now. Then I'm going to see who's the first one to give it in the comments section. So, and I wonder if you guys know this one. Okay. So with the 17-game schedule this year, Christian McCaffrey has a chance to join, have multiple 400-plus touch seasons. Who was the last player to have multiple 400 touch seasons? Tell me the year and tell me who it is. Whoever's the first one over here, year-long sub, or if you're already a member, we'll come up with something else. You'll be a winner of something, but it'll be a year-long sub if you don't have one. Oh, that didn't take any time. Adam Diaz has the right question. AB, what was it?
It's your man, LaDainian Tomlinson with the Chargers.
You're damn right. It was 2006, the same year he was the MVP. So, Adam, jeweler will take down your name. Adam, put in your Twitter handle so we can reach out to you too. I don't want the jeweler to be mad at me. I apologize for that, but just what I do. It's what I do sometimes. All right, we have arrived, and we're going to do this every single week at 45 past the hour. It's a new segment that we like to call, and here's why. So, each and every one of you are going to give me one play that you absolutely love in tonight's game. And then I want you to tell me why. There's somebody over here in the comment section that apparently he's a big baller because he's got a $5,000 free play in Arizona that he's itching to make tonight. So for you, sir, we're going to give you 4 different plays right now that we absolutely love. And if you want to put that $5,000 on one of them, Godspeed. Maestro, I'm going to let you start. What do you got?
All right, Zeke Elliott over 3.5 catches. We talked about how you cannot run on the Tampa Bay defense, but did you know they gave up the most catches to running backs in all of football last year? Zeke played with Dak 4 full games, got 7.5 targets. In fact, got 6 catches 3 times. I think they really want to show him off. I think he's, it's a bounce back type of year for him. He looks great, but they're not going to be able to run the ball. So I think that's going to mean Zeke catching at least 4 balls.
How much do you think Zeke has been in the ear of Mike McCarthy? Because if I'm the head coach of the Cowboys and I'm on my last year, because if they're 8-8, he's gone. And I would be leaning into my stars and saying, Dak, take me to the promised land. Zeke, take me to the promised land. How much do you think, Maestro, Mike McCarthy is actually listening this year?
Well, I don't have a lot of faith in McCarthy or Dan Quinn, but I do have faith in the Tampa Bay pass rush, and I do think without Zach Martin, but even with him, there's not going to be a lot of time. So we're talking about quick hitting, short type passes, and I hope that means at least 4 grabs for Zeke.
All right, so the Maestro is on Zeke over 3.5 catches, minus 115. All right, M Squared, I'm going to go to you. What's your one bet that you absolutely love tonight? Tell me why.
All right, I'm cheating. I'm going to give you 2 because one was the one I gave this morning. It was the over 51.5. But for the show, and here's why, I'm taking Amari Cooper over 66.5 yards. A little nervous because I just bet it on DraftKings on the show, and now it's not on the board anymore, unfortunately, but it is on some of the other books out there. I love Amari Cooper's over here. Sticking with the theme, I think Dak Prescott's going to drop back to pass. I think they're going to be trailing by 10 to 14 points for a good chunk of the second half of this game. It's going to lead to a few targets. It's going to lead to some softer coverage over the middle once we're looking at about 8 to 10 minutes left in the game when they're down by 10 to 14 points. That cushion where Amari's going to get the 2 10 to 15-yard catches, that's going to put him over the total. It might take to the fourth quarter to get there, but I do think Amari goes over 66.5 tonight.
Oh, I think that would be nice and tasty. I would love to catch that in the third quarter. That would be really, really nice. All right, Alex, I know you've been really working on this one. You've been holding it close to the vest. What do you got for me? Tell me why.
Is this a play that can I bring up a play I already called out, Coach?
If you'd like, sure.
Previously on the show. Yeah, so I mean, I just got to go with Leonard Fournette over. I know I talked about it earlier, 35.5 rushing yards. I just think this number is, about 7 to 5 yards too low. I think he's splitting carries with Ronald Jones. He was absolutely tremendous throughout the postseason. The guy was averaging 75 yards a game and 16 touches in the most important games for the Bucs. They're 9-point favorites. I expect, some positive game script and them to be playing with a lead. I just expect him to be receiving double-digit carries, and I just think 35.5 yards is way too low.
All right, so that's the one that you love. That's what this segment is about. It's the one that you love the most. Sometimes you have multiple. Sometimes you have one. All right.
My favorite.
Oh, go ahead, Maestro.
It looked like Alex had something to say about Zeke before. I wanted to hear his take on the Zeke prop.
I was just going to ask you, Larry, if I'm interested to see if Tony Pollard is going to potentially take away some work for Zeke. There's been a lot of talk about him potentially getting some receiving work, and that was kind of why I aired away from the receiving props for Zeke. Was I'm interested to see how they're kind of going to spell Zeke and if Pollard ends up getting some of the receiving work.
Yeah, it did worry me a little bit. I was looking at Pollard over 1.5 as well, but I just think game one, they're not going to worry about his usage, and this is the game to show him off and show that he's back. So that's where I went with it. But I do agree with you. I'm worried because Pollard was by far the more efficient player last season.
All right, very good. Well, we got the name of this segment from my man AB, so he will be allowed to go last. What's your one play tonight that you're going to tell the good people at home you love it? Tell me why.
Yep. I'll tell you, here is why that the under is your friend in this one at 52.5, because there were 5 games last year in the NFL that featured a 9+ point spread and a 51+ point total. And guess what? If the team with the large spread covered, 60% of the time, it hit the under. Take the under if you feel Tampa Bay is going to win this game and smash the Cowboys like you think it's going to happen. That means Dallas likely is not going to score that many points. The under is your friend. That is why.
Do I smell a SportsLine showdown bet on show number 1? M Squared, I believe you need to step in right now and tell me what you think.
Let's go. I mean, are we getting 51.5 that I had this morning or not? That's the question. That's
AB,
the question.
are you good with 51.5?
Let's do it. 51.5.
Let's do it.
Well, let's go. Now, here's the other question. Because right now we're raising a lot of money for the American Red Cross. I believe that this one should go to that, but you guys decide. You guys decide.
Sure.
But that's what we're doing for the next couple of months to try to help out with the hurricane victims down in New Orleans. All of our SportsLine showdown. Don't want to put pressure on you, but I love having it juicy on the first one. Now, as we count down to the top of the hour, and we're going to be on the air right up until kickoff here on Early Edge Live. We're going to get away just for a second from the picks, as we have about 10 minutes till the top of the hour. And we have a chance tonight, guys, and I don't think we talk about this enough, that we're in the midst of the greatest run in the history of the NFL with Tom Brady. And he said recently he doesn't just want to complete this contract, but he wants to do another contract after it, maybe 4 or 5 more years. So, Maestro, let's start with you. Do you think that this is the greatest career, player, brand, whatever you want to call it, that we have ever seen? No question, period.
Well, that's a very painful subject for me because I grew up in St. Louis and I was a Rams fan, and I went to the Super Bowl in New Orleans when he led them down the field when, Madden said, oh, they're just going to play for overtime with the young quarterback Brady. And of course they lead him down and kick the field goal right through the uprights where I was sitting, broke my heart, had to drive 7 hours after the game. So, and I, also think that there was some cheating going on. So, but putting all of that in the past, I will bring it to today and say, yeah, he has not lost anything. And the weapons are just so incredible. And the plus money on him to get 3 touchdown passes has come down. I think it was 160 earlier. Now you're looking at 135, but I still think might be worth a shot. He's going to put on a show. Look at all the weapons they have, all the red zone weapons between Mike Evans and Gronk and, AB and everyone else. So that's worth a sprinkle to me.
There is something to when guys play, when you have a national stage. And I remember when I was at ESPN for all those years, you could almost target certain games where you knew guys were going to step up because they had the entire national audience. AB, I'll ask you right now, the number for passing yard for Tom Brady is over 307.5, at least at the last time I looked. Do you think that he wants to go out tonight and just shut up all the haters and go, he's lost a step again? How important do you think that is to him?
No, I don't think that is that important because we're talking about a man who's played in 21% of every Super Bowl in the history of life, right? That's how good this guy is. I don't think the game won in terms of his passing yards. He has to prove anything to anyone. He wants to win the game, and especially correlating a play like Mike said earlier. If they're up in the second half, buddy, hand the ball off, hand the ball off, hand the ball off. No, I would go over on Dak yardage. No, I'm going under on Brady yardage.
Oh, okay. Mikey, what's your thoughts on what you think Tom Brady might be thinking inside tonight is something that he wants to put on display?
I think Tom Brady's going to throw the touchdown passes for sure. When it comes down to the red zone, they just got so many weapons there. I think they will throw the ball to score the touchdowns. But as far as the yardage prop, I wouldn't touch it. I'm with Alan there. I would lean over on the Dak yardage prop. But Tom Brady and the touchdowns, I like the one it was like plus 170 early in the week for over 2.5. That's certainly the one that I would lean on for Tom Brady. I think that he's going to have, he might have that in the first half, to be honest with you.
When you look at a prop, Alex, I was coming to you anyway. When you look at a prop concerning Tom Brady, is there one you like? And also say whatever you were going to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say I agree with Alan that that the game is going to likely kind of start off with both teams feeling each other out, and it wouldn't shock me at all to see a slow start on both sides. So I actually like the under for Brady's yards. I think it's kind of on the high side, and I'm leaning under. I think, both teams are going to kind of feel each other out and get off to a slow start, and there could be a couple punts and some field goals early on. Both teams, haven't played meaningful football for a long time. So, I actually like his under yardage.
Okay. JB in the comment section said we're the best show, hands down. We agree. Hit that like button. It really helps us on our YouTube channels. We continue to grow the brand. It is growing at lightning speed, and we appreciate every single one of you that watches on a daily basis. Now, this year, guys, because of the 17-game schedule, the AFC teams will have the benefit the first year, then it'll flip next year. How much do you think that's going to affect? And we have 8 different episodes in your feed right now, NFL Futures, and it kind of goes back to that. Maestro, how do you think that could influence any win totals that we're going to have for all these teams this year?
Yeah, no, that's just something you have to take into account when you're looking at these win totals. But I mean, I know Alex and I probably feeling fortunate at the misfortune of the Baltimore Ravens today. The big news, Gus Edwards down, Marcus Peters, I mean, the best quarterback down. I know Alex and I both on the Browns futures, and RJ might not be feeling so hot today because he's on the Ravens. But Alex, I mean, do you think what happened was sort of, power tilting in the AFC North?
Yeah, I absolutely do, Larry. I think it has a big impact on the Browns win total. I also think it gives the Browns a great shot to win the division. If that has a better price, I didn't actually check before we came on, but if you can get a better price on the Browns winning the division compared to their team win total, I'd actually lean that way. I think the loss of Marcus Peters to Baltimore's defense is significant. I think he leads all active players in turnovers. He has 31 interceptions in his 6-year career, which is just outstanding. I think his impact is going to be really felt on the Baltimore defense, obviously losing Gus Edwards after J.K. Dobbins going down, the run game, who knows what it's going to look like. And I think it really boosts the Browns' chances, both in the team win standpoint, and also it gives them a good shot to win the division.
It is heartbreaking when you see those stories from a football standpoint, but certainly now almost immediately, because there are 27 states. Back in 2017, there was one state that had legalized sports betting. Now we're up to 27. That you look immediately and say, okay, what does that do to the futures? That's just what that's the way it is right now. That's what it is right now. So, AB, when you think about losing and the futures, you can still bet these, except for these 2 teams tonight, all the way up till Sunday. How much do you think that's going to shift, particularly for the Ravens?
Well, it's going to hurt because you've lost now, 2 Pro Bowl running backs, another running back. You've lost one of the best quarters in the game. However, Ravens are a good football team, and the best runner on the team is their quarterback, right? So I think that it'll affect a little bit, but not a whole lot. How you could tell, just watch the betting from this second until Monday night when they play against the Raiders, and just watch what the public does. You'll see some initial bursts go towards Las Vegas, but you'll see money come right back on Baltimore because they're built more on than just names on the running backs. They're good players, but they just signed Le'Veon Bell. They've got options here, and Le'Veon Bell's not the guy who he was 5 years ago, but this is a running back by committee type team. Yeah. I don't think it'll affect too terribly much. And one other thing, what you were saying in terms of, AFC teams getting an extra home game this year, understand this. Just use the data with you, all right? 22.2% of all NFL games are decided by 3 points. 37% are decided by 6 points. So if you've got 22% of all games decided by 3 points and home field value is worth 2 to 3 points, depending on the place, depending on the game, there's going to be a little bit of importance there.
God, the numbers you find are unbelievable. Now, are we sleeping on the Pittsburgh Steelers, M-squared, in this scenario that maybe they could sneak up and perhaps nip the Browns? Because Big Ben said they're going to be really good this year.
I mean, we could be collectively sleeping on them a little bit. Obviously, it definitely helps their future value. It should definitely change their number just a little bit. But as far as them being a legitimate threat to go win it, I think that's a little far-fetched in my opinion at this point. But it'll be interesting to see. We're going to find out on Sunday here. This is a really good test for him against this Bills team in week 1. So I'm interested to see what Harris is going to look like in the backfield. If he can replicate anything that they've done in the past with Le'Veon or James Conner at times when they've all been healthy, who knows? Maybe they can make some noise. But the injury concerns, especially on the defensive side too, with Peters going out for the Ravens, definitely hurts that Ravens team.
Wow, so many things already changing before we even get to tonight. And we are crossing the top of the hour as we speak. This hour is absolutely flown by. For those of you that are tuning in right now, welcome into the Early Edge Live. Normally, we just do an hour. On Thursday nights, we're going to go lead right up to kickoff, which is around 8:20 Eastern time. Cowboys and the Bucs. You got America's team. Somehow they still are. Then you got the Bucs, the defending Super Bowl champions. There has not been a repeat Super Bowl champion since 2003. 2004, and that was the New England Patriots. The number has been hovering between 8.5, 9, 9.5 today, and then the total is up to 52 and a half. So we got about 20 minutes more to go. So let's dive back in, guys, to that number, because a majority of sports bettors, they just like to bet the spread. They don't like to get too involved, and that number has certainly gone up almost 3.5 points since it opened. Maestro, let's start with you this hour. Do you think the number is where it's supposed to be?
Yeah, I mean, the number is I think between 7 and 10 is where it's supposed to be. 7 was too low, 10 is too high, regardless of the final score. That's where it's supposed to be. At this point, I like the Bucs to win. I like them to win definitely by more than a touchdown. I'm not going to play the spread, but if you're dying to get in on the spread and not do a ridiculous money line, I would look at teasing it. You can still do a 7-point teaser down to 2 or 2.5, and you could pair that with the team like if you like the Jets, like I kind of like them, and take 6 more points on the Jets and believe they're going to lose, by 10 or less to the Carolina Panthers. That's one play. You could do the Rams like Matt did. So a lot of good teaser options on the board. You could take the Saints all the way up to 10 or 11, depending if it's a 6 or 7-point teaser. So just some options there.
AB, where are you at right now as far as, because the closer I get, and this is part of the problem, and we try to educate people at home, you get that itch, and you're like, I'm not going to play it, I'm not going to play it, I'm not going to play it. Then you get closer to game time, you're like, I got to play something. So you lay the 9 or you lay the 9.5, and then they win by a touchdown. You're like, why did I do that? Why did you stay away? How are you feeling right now about this spread?
Yeah, the number is the number, right? We've seen, obviously, the public has juiced it up a little bit, and that makes sense. Like I said, something stinks here between the spread and the total. They're not adding up to me in my brain. So what I would do is find which one that you like, and then just literally on a piece of paper, just write one side Cowboys, one side Bucs, and project what you think the score is going to be, right? Like, keep this thing simple and understand it, so then you can have an idea of where you think the spread will be, where you think the total will be. And if you don't like either of them, play a team total. If you've got the Cowboys at 20.5, I think that's where they sit, right? Like, find that. But 9.5, that is a lot for a first game. That's a whole lot.
First and foremost, the reason I'm laughing is you said something didn't add up in your brain. I'm like, that's not shocking. No,
it's not.
You bring up a great point. Is there so many different ways that you can? We do it in baseball all the time. Mikey, when you talk about a team total, and the last number I checked for the Bucs was 30, and I believe the Dallas Cowboys, Julie, you have to look it up for me, is somewhere around 20? 21, I think. How much do you like team totals, Mikey?
I don't really like them at all in the NFL, personally. I think that they're just, honestly, I don't. Main reason is the current score of the game is going to dictate how the team's going to play. So I generally would rather attack the entire game in a sport like the NFL. Sport like Major League Baseball, for example, generally speaking, the team is still trying to hit no matter what the score of the game is. So I typically avoid them there. I will say one thing that you can do, though, if you're looking at that, live betting is very popular, going to become even more popular as we go forward. If you don't like the number that you're getting now on the spread or the total, don't be afraid to wait and bet that number live after the first drive of the game, especially if you're someone who maybe liked the over but didn't want it at 52.5. You can grab that live over if there's a 3 and out to start the game. The first drive of the game doesn't end in points, but nothing really fundamentally changes with your stance on the game. You're going to steal 3 points instantly right there. So that's something you can do. I know it takes a little discipline to not have that bet in before the game starts, but you can do things like that. Say, for example, you like the Cowboys. You don't like it at 9.5. You wish you could get 11 somehow. You go out there and Bucs get the ball first. They put a field goal on the board. That 9.5 is going to be 10.5 to 11 instantly right there as well. Nothing fundamentally changed. Your team hasn't touched the ball yet frankly, holding them to a field goal was a good result. So there's a lot of ways you can still get involved, a better number than what's available to you to start the day.
Fantastic. I know one of the bets you're really high on, Alex, and one guy in our comment section is asking you specifically a question. You love Leonard Fournette tonight. The number apparently is up to 37.5 on his rushing yards now. Would you still play that?
I would still play that. Yeah, that's actually I'd stop at 38.5. That's kind of what I had as my highest projection for him. But yeah, I would still play 37.5 comfortably. Like I mentioned before, I think he's a near lock to get double-digit carries. He's got everything going for him. Positive game script, 9-point favorites like we've been discussing. The high total. I like him at 37.5 as well.
All right, very good. By the way, the exact team total 20.5 for Dallas. If you guys are wondering, 30.5 now for Tampa. That half point can make all the difference in the world. I want to recap because we're going to stop at about 8:15 because I want people to be able to get these plays in because they're watching us so intently. And to be honest, I need to get a couple plays in myself. But I want to go back over the plays we had because I know a lot of people weren't watching the first hour and they just tuned in at the top of the hour. So, Mikey, let's start with you on the play that you love tonight and tell me why, please.
The first one from this morning, 51.5 on the over. And then the one from this show here is Amari Cooper over 66.5 receiving yards. I love this one. We've talked about it all night, but long story short, the Cowboys are going to have to throw the football, hopefully by design from the beginning of the game, but certainly in the second half of the game. I expect them to be trailing by 10 to 14 points for the last 10 minutes of the game. That's going to lead to a little bit softer coverage over the middle to Amari Cooper. He's not afraid to run over the middle, catch those balls. I think he's going to have 2 to 3 catches of 10 to 15 yards in that fourth quarter. That's going to help him go over the total of 66.5. And then obviously let's not ignore the upside. He has that kind of upside on one play.
Yeah, he sure does. Alex, I know you just gave your Leonard Fournette, but you have another prop that you really like tonight. What is that?
Yeah, so the other prop that I like, Coach, is Rob Gronkowski under 31.5 receiving yards. Dallas's defense was not good in pretty much any facet last year, but the one area they actually were adept was in tight end coverage. They allowed only 5.3 targets per game to opposing tight ends. They gave up the third fewest yards in 2020 to tight ends, only 650. I mentioned previously the Bucs have a logjam at tight end position with O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate also vying for targets. Speaking of O.J. Howard, he led all Tampa Bay tight ends in targets and receptions prior to going down with a season-ending injury 4 games into last season. Howard is once again expected to serve as the Bucs' primary pass-catching tight end, relegating Gronk to more of a blocking role where obviously he excels at. Before Howard got hurt, Gronk was averaging only 3.5 targets and 22 receiving yards per game, and he averaged only 8.1 yards per target. The Bucs obviously have a very loaded group of pass catchers: Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller, as well as Howard and Brate, who we've already mentioned. And yeah, just to touch on the strength of the Cowboys' defense is definitely their linebacking unit. They upgraded the unit by drafting Micah Parsons, who's a very good coverage linebacker. They also drafted what many people consider to be the best coverage linebacker in the entire draft in Jabril Cox. And I also think game script could work in our favor with this bet, with the Bucs being such heavy favorites and just not having to throw a ton.
I tell you what, it is amazing how the public gets sucked into Gronkowski is Tom Brady's favorite target. They go over without actually looking at the numbers and breaking it down and realizing, well, not so much anymore. Maybe from 10 yards and into the end zone, but not throughout the game. Great nuggets by you, Alex. Just fantastic. Maestro, I know you have a couple, at least one play that I can remember tonight. You love a CeeDee Lamb prop.
Yeah, I love CeeDee Lamb over 4.5 catches, laying the juice because he averaged 8 targets with Dak in the lineup. He cleared this every game that Dak played. I think he still will be primarily in the slot, and that's where the Bucs are weakest in terms of their secondary. But I got to say, I'm getting a lot of good ideas from the comments. And Alvin points out a great teaser would be 49ers and Colts. I love that teaser. And somebody else raised Micah Parsons over 7.5 tackles. And if we get the game script that Alex thinks we will, and we get Leonard Fournette pounding the ball in the fourth quarter, this rookie could get double-digit tackles.
He's a stud. He is an absolute stud. Two good plays there. Real quick, Kyle in the comment section says, what do you guys think about same game teaser, teasing Dallas up and down for the over? I don't know if you can do that. I think you can. Anybody want to take a shot at this one?
I mean, I have no problem with it. Like, there's no difference of doing that than, one play from one game, one play to the other. Depending on your book, if they allow it to happen, I'm not sure that all of them do. But, yeah, I mean, if you stick to the principles of the numbers, yeah.
Okay. We're going to be preaching money management this entire year. Don't chase. If you have a bad day, don't chase. It's the hardest thing not to do. AB, I know you still got a couple plays you need to give out.
Yep, absolutely. So, obviously, the one from this morning, the Dallas first quarter +3, still love that one. Second one would be the Dak Prescott over a half of an interception at -135. I actually think that number's dropped to around -125. I saw in the chat somebody got it earlier there. Plus, we've got the showdown with Mike, the under 51.5. It sits at 52.5, which is an incredibly better number. So if you're looking at an under, the 52.5 really does make a massive difference. And then also you look at Dak Prescott. If you're looking for an anytime TD scorer, I'm not sure what the number is for Dak, but that's a pretty good little bet there.
Wow. We have given you so many. Go ahead, Mikey.
I wanted to answer the question about the same game teaser there. You can do it. I built one here that probably is something you'd want to play. The person who asked the question, you can tease the Dallas Cowboys to 14.5 and the under to 62.5. And that would come back at -115. So you go under 62.5, Cowboys plus 14.5. Get the hook on the second touchdown if you want to do it. I personally am not playing it at this point, but you can do it. And that is one that if you like those positions on the game at -115, I don't hate it.
Oh, very good. Thank you, Mikey. Great job by you. I love the fact that not only the jeweler, everybody, we just go and we evolve and we move and we shake. We never know what's coming. We have a rundown, but I don't even know where it is at this point. All right, we've only got 3 minutes left. We're going to stop at 8:15. So quickly, I know there's a lot of other games that we're going to get to. By the way, I want to bring up on the screen, we have an incredible new schedule here on Early Edge Live, which was our afternoon show. Tomorrow, we have an entire show built around NFL props. Can't wait for that. So that is at 2 p.m. Eastern on Friday. Then on Sunday, 3 different shows. We'll have our normal morning show. Then we'll have our kickoff show at noon Eastern time. And then at 7 Eastern time, we'll recap all the plays from the day and then look forward to Sunday Night Football, Bears and the Rams. That's going to be my favorite show of the week. And then, of course, coming up on Monday, Ravens and Raiders, 7 p.m. Eastern. It'll be very similar to what we do here on Thursday nights. So I want to quickly go around.
Coach,
yes.
Sorry. I just got to jump in there because I wanted to give a plug for that Friday show. Alex told me something that kind of blew my mind. I believe he said he was going to have 200 prop plays in the first 5 weeks of the season. Maybe Alex can explain why he's going so heavy early on.
I would love to know.
Yeah, so I mean, really week 1, week 2, week 3 are kind of like my personal Super Bowl for props. There's just such a vast space for the books to cover. There's just so many props, and I just think they're really far behind, and you can just find just so much value kind of all over the place. Looking at my historical volume, I tend to put in by far the most volume in the first couple of weeks of the season. As the season progresses, the books tend to catch up more and the lines get sharper and sharper. But yeah, this is kind of where I have the most fun and put in the largest volume. So yeah, these next couple of weeks should be a lot of fun for me.
Hey, Alex, if you could do me a favor, man, and only do those when the jeweler's producing and not me, that'd be fantastic.
Can you imagine the full screen? And then with Alex's, we do 8 pages of bets for the weekend. Unbelievable. That would be hilarious. All right, quickly, let's go around real quick. And I just want you guys to tell me what the game you're most looking forward to this week. I know, because I know you've done work on all of them, just from a fan standpoint, because that's why we're here, because we're fans first. M Square, what game do you like the most this week?
I mean, I'm cheating when I say the Chiefs game. Obviously, a lot of bias there, but I can't wait to see the Browns, but I'll give you one more quickly. It's going to be the Packers and the Saints. I want to see what the Saints can do with Jameis Winston. They've got that other environment. They're obviously playing in Jacksonville and not at home in the Dome. And then obviously Aaron Rodgers, drama-filled offseason. He's back. Let's see what these two teams have.
Alex?
As much as I'm leaning Jaguars and Texans, I got to go with the Chiefs and the Browns. I just cannot wait to see what this Browns team looks like. I think they have one of the most talented rosters, top to bottom. Obviously, the Chiefs are an exceptional team, have probably the best offense in the league. I'm expecting big things. I know Larry is as well out of the Browns. We both have their over win total on the season. I think the game's going to be really competitive personally. And, I cannot wait to see that game as well.
I can tell you this, that of all the games this week, I'm in several survivor pools. I really struggled to find teams to pick to play survivor pools in week one. That's how hard these matchups are. At least to me, they were. I had to play the Chiefs in one of them. I did. That's all I had. AB, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you this. I'm going to the AFC East. Patriots, Dolphins, because New England made a big decision at their quarterback. And look, not only is this a must-win game for them, and it's not necessarily for Miami, buddy, that's a division game too. That is important, man. And if you look, the Dolphins and Patriots have split 1-1 the last 3 years. Don't get rolled up by Miami after you made a big decision at quarterback now. I think it's going to be a good game.
Tua. Mac Jones on the other side. Two of the last three quarterbacks for Alabama. It's amazing what that program has done. I am looking forward to that game as well. He always closes our shows. Maestro, what do you got?
Well, two games I can't wait for. Washington, which I'm already on SportsLine with injuries to Eckler and Balaga, and the Chargers under a first-year coach. And I have a future on Washington. So this is a pivotal game, I think. Even though it's non-conference, I just really invested in Washington winning that game, and I hope it plays out that way. But the game I can't wait is really 49ers-Lions, which is the most popular survivor pick, Coach, this week. I just think it'll be interesting to see what they do with Jimmy G and Trey Lance. But when you give Kyle Shanahan this much time to prepare an offense against a Dan Campbell-led team, there should be plenty of points for the 49ers. If they don't score 30+, I will be stunned.
It goes against my philosophy. I've done pretty good in survivor pools over the years. My philosophy is to never take an away team until I have to. And they're an away team. AB?
Yeah, really quickly, I want to say what Larry was talking about. Go back and look at the 49ers' last preseason game. The entire red zone, Shanahan did nothing but use Jimmy G and Trey Lance running in touchdowns just to mess with the Lions and use this game. Keep that in mind for props. Just telling you.
Really quick before we get out of here, go ahead and hit that like button for me. If you haven't done it already, I'll recap quickly. You have all the plays from tonight. Don't forget about our prop show tomorrow. All 8 NFL Future episodes are in your feed right now. They're all less than 15 minutes. We had Alex. We had Maestro. We had can't remember who else. We had a lot. RJ. So we had a lot. So there's 8 there. You've got to be ready for the season. We've done all the work. Now we're going to let you drink. All right? That's going to do it for us. Enjoy the game tonight. Cowboys and the Bucs. Woo! Baby, you have got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets straight to the pay window. For M Squared, for Alex at PropStars, for AB, the Maestro, and, of course, the jeweler who puts it all together here at the brand. This is freaking awesome. Let's go! This is The Early Edge. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Do you want best bets in your feed every single day? All you have to do is hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Early Edge.